Hello, my soul brothers and soul sisters. I am Ron Smith, and this is the Dr. Ron Smith Investigate Show, where we separate the real from fake, the fact from fiction, and give you the winner's edge. And sometimes we even turn your water into wine. We are in season 4, and this has happened to be episode 1, and we're going back to the foundation, which is your mindset. You know, one of my favorite groups used to have this song said, "Free your mind and your butt will follow." Okay, of course, you know, they had another word for butt. But my point is, you get my drift, is that basically everything begins in your mind. And you have to have a vision for yourself. And since we're talking about financial literacy, and I always say, let's get lit, which means basically, let's improve our financial literacy. No matter where you are, you can improve your financial literacy. What I mean by that is that basically there, in America, we have 3 classes of people, and in certain other parts of the world, it's the same thing, is that you have the rich, poor, and the middle class. And each of those classes have a different mindset. But what is actually a financial mindset? First, let's talk about mindset in general. It's your attitude, your values, your philosophy, your outlook, and your mental attitude about any particular subject. So since we're talking about financial literacy, talking about money, talking about finance, basically, how did your financial mindset develop? First of all, we are pretty much born into a family, which basically, whether you're rich, poor, middle class, that is your first exposure to how money works. Now, one of the things that, in general, if you're poor, your mindset would really dictate you to getting a job, paying your bills, and making sure your bills are paid on time. And then you go back to work and do the same thing, wash, rinse, repeat. Middle class is basically you get a good education, start a career, and then basically you have 1 or 2 incomes coming in, and that's the same thing for people poor. But basically, you have more of a career where you are above the, I would say, from 65 to the, let's say, 85% of dollars in your income. Therefore, you are able to accumulate things, which mean a home, cars, that, I guess, that suburban lifestyle, which means that basically you are creating an environment that you want to have a high credit score. Therefore, you can buy things on credit, and then you pay things on time. And your whole idea is to maintain all those things because you got all these things juggling up in the air. Now, some of my rich friends, basically, they see money totally different. They see money as creating other money, which means that if I have $1, my whole thing was to make more dollars out of that dollar, not just spend it on, things that do not increase in value. So basically, those are kind of pretty much your family mindset, which means that basically, if you live in any of those 3 environments, your attitude about money is totally different. And the reason I can speak freely about those 3 things, because basically I have lived in 3 of those environments. And right now I'm in that 3rd category. And my goal is to increase in value in that 3rd category, which means to basically have some income producing assets. My goal is to have more. So even in school, I had this guy who I have a robust conversation is why you send your kids to a Ivy League school. You send your kids to Ivy League school, not necessarily for the education. You send your kids to Ivy League schools, so basically they grow up against other people who have those uh, rich values, which mean that basically you're making contact with people, which mean that people who go to Harvard, in Yale, in Princeton, etc., or Penn, uh, they are lived in an environment where they're exposed to people are talking about money and making deals on a very, uh, uh, I guess, advantageous kind of situation. So your family, your environment, and your exposure to different concepts, those are the things that create the mindset that you are in. So one of the things about what you can do to expand, and that's pretty much what we're going to talk about in the latter half of this discourse, this conversation, is that how can I move from one type of exposure or environment to the next? And basically, knowing that your mindset will affect your life, you have to actually understand what are the daily decisions that you are making. I was on TikTok the other day in one of my homework class that I gave some of my students, and make sure you check me out on TikTok. First of all, you need to actually take control of your spending. But before you can be able to take control, you got to understand, what your cash flow is. Everybody got a cash flow. Whether you have you create or earn your money, or you work for your money, or you have an allowance, or you got any type of income. There's a cash flow in and there's a cash flow out. That is inescapable in this economy. So the basics is, what are your daily expenditures? I mean, from the time you, and it might be, I'm not talking about, after you leave home is what I'm speaking of. What you're doing on your way to work. Do you stop at Dunkin' Donuts? Do you stop at Starbucks? Do you stop at McDonald's? And during the time that you're at work, if you have vending machines, or do you have a cafeteria at lunchtime? Do you go to your favorite, lunch spot, restaurant? How much are you tracking your spending? That 3 o'clock, do you spend money to buy sodas and drinks, and etc.? And then basically, if you're not making dinner at home, are you making expenditures outside at home? If you can start quantifying those expenditures, you can probably see where your money is actually going on a daily basis. And one of the things that I shared with my TikTok family is that, let's say that I do have a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donut, fascination, that I got to have my cafe. You're not leaving out of those places without having spent at least $5 to $10, and that's just one stop. If you can save each one of those things, you end up maybe we average it out $5. You have about five times five is $25, and 4 times 25 is $100. Just on one item alone, or one of those things that you could do without, you have $100. And one of the things I suggested is, basically, if you make your own lunch and you make your own coffee, you're talking about $10 a day. So basically, we're talking about roughly $200. And I'm not saying that you can deny yourself of a treat. I'm just exposing some of the how money actually leaks out of your pocket. And think about it: if you forego those the two habits, now you have $100 or $200 that you can actually add to your emergency fund. I hesitate when I say that because I don't like to use the term emergency fund, because exactly what's going to happen if you call it that. But it's something that you can actually have for that extra spending plan that basically, that always happen. There are always going to be a tire that need to be replaced. It might be let's say the thermostat in your home might need to be replaced. Hot water heater, et cetera, et cetera. So those are one of the things that I suggest that you can start looking at your daily expense, which leads to your weekly expense until it rolls over to part of your spending plan of your monthly expense. One of the things about why this is so important is that your life decisions are based around your income. And if you think about it, your financial literacy determines where you're going to live, how you're going to live, what you're going to purchase, how you're going to purchase, and all those things. So if you can actually create your own GNP by actually controlling your spending plan, and we're going to get more in detail in the second half of this discourse today. You are in charge of your own economy. And the thing about it is that social media, television, radio, et cetera, will always tell you about the world economy, the country's GNP, what is the Federal Reserve is doing, and how that's going to affect you. But nobody tells you your daily decisions and your weekly, your monthly, your semi-annual, and your annual decisions determines your GNP, or it determines your economy. So my whole objective with this mindset beginning, and we're going to go into a little deeper about some other suggestions on how you can actually take control, is actually it happens up here in your mind. Everything that you do starts out with a thought. And if you have a vision for where you want to go, and we're going to talk about plans and et cetera, from where you are to where you need to go. And before we go into the half, I'm going to have a few suggestions, because the second half we talk about how to improve your mindset about financial literacy. First, you want to pay yourself first, which means that for a change, you have to put yourself first. And oftentimes, we want to put our mortgage, you want to put all the bills, you want to put everybody paid first, and then you wonder why you don't have anything left over. So first thing, you need to pay yourself first. Second suggestion is that you have to live below your means, which means that basically just because you can, don't mean that you have to. Sometimes you might have to have a roommate for a certain period of time. As long as you have a plan, you know that basically, hey, I might do this for 18 months, I might have to do this 3 years, but my plan is to actually have my own place. And so basically you have to live below your means, and don't let the promotions push you to get into a community that all you have to do is only paying over 40% of your income for your housing. And the next thing is make sure you educate yourself. Self-education, actually listen to this podcast. And then on the flip side, we're going to talk about some of the books that you can get to actually to enhance your financial education. And the thing about it is that to start early and make it habitual, because you have to have consistency. So we're going to take a small break right now. So when we come back, we're going to talk about ways that you can improve your financial mindset. Hello, my soul brothers and soul sisters. We are part two, and we are in episode 4, and this is season 4, and this is episode number 1. And we're talking about mindset because that is the fundamental thing and the basic that you have to do. In order to do anything with success, first it starts in your mind. And you have to make up your mind that I want to change. And then you have to apply out a plan of how that change is going to take place. You know, it's almost like faith without works is dead. First, you got to have the faith that I can do it. And now you have to plan out a way that actually this can be done. You know, I just can't hope that good things happen to me just because I'm a good person. No, I have to actually put faith in action. So first of all, I have to say, I want to get better at my finance in this particular situation. And I have to reach out and find the sources that I need to actually do that. And once I have to actually do that, then I have to create a plan. So basically what we're going to talk about ways that I can improve my financial mindset. And the first thing that you have to do is invest in your financial education. And by you listening to this podcast, that is one of the genesis of things you can do. You need to be around people who actually have done some things that you hadn't done, or speak into your life things that you should have done. It's almost like I don't have to experience being injured because I talked to somebody and said, hey, you know, you don't need to be injured. You don't need to do that. So basically, I can learn from other people's mistakes as well as other people's success is my point. Remember, the environment and your exposure probably will enrich your financial education better than anything else, which means that being around different people who have done successful things. I give you a case in point. I didn't understand the concept of authorized users until I had this experience, and basically share it right quick. When I was a second lieutenant in the Marine Corps, I had all these guys coming on to the base. I knew I had graduated with them, went through the basic schools and OCS and all that good stuff, and basically everybody wanted to get a new car. Of course, since I didn't understand my credit situation, I maxed out a couple of credit cards while I was in college. So I'm paying the minimum balance on those things. Therefore, basically that reduced my credit score. So I ain't seeing guys driving up in baby Mercedes and Porsches and Lexus and all this in a Corvette. And I'm saying, these guys are second lieutenants. And, you know, how are they able to do this? And basically I can do is get a brand new, at that time, Central. And it was nice. It was a nice car. It was new. But my point was, then I found out that these guys, parents, had put them on as authorized users on their credit card. So when these guys went to a dealership, they were paying 0 to 4%, where me maxing out my credit card and not having the parents are able to put me as authorized users. I was trying to go uphill on an unlevel playing field. And my point was that since these guys were able to get those different loans that will cost me double or even triple by myself without having the credit history that they had obtained over 10 years. And basically my sharing is that being exposed to having an environment that these guys, how they were able to do it, I was able to do some things for my children that their parents did for them, just by being exposed to that environment. And making those mistakes, you kind of learn how you can take advantage of that. Maybe not for yourself, but then your children, your grandchildren can take advantage of those things just by being exposed to, the environment of people actually understanding how to deal with money. The next thing is, books. Books are my best friend. I really exemplify what they said. Leaders are readers. I have slowed down a whole lot with books. I was up to, at one time, I was up to 4 books a month. So now I'm probably down to maybe 2, not as consistent as I used to be, but I'm down to 2 and maybe 1 on my worst month. One of the things that I can share with you, it's kind of hard to write and read somebody else's book at the same time. So I'm kind of struggling with that. That's the reason why I'm not back up to 3 to 4 books. But the first book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That is one of the books I recommend to get your mind set right, because it gives you an illustration of, a rich dad and a poor dad. Now, in the, I guess, the standard sense, each one of these dads was successful in the career that they chose. But here's the thing. If you really want to be successful financially and actually be in control of your finances, not only, your work life, but also in your retirement, you have to actually have more than one income. And one of the things about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it shows you that basically the poor dad only had his salary to rely on. And the rich dad has other investments. So basically, that was a fundamental difference from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is that basically you're going to have to, in order to be financially well and independent, you're going to have more than one income stream. It's probably 4 income streams is probably the best way. So basically, that's the gist of what I got out the Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Another book called The Richest Man in Babylon, and I can't think of the author's name right now, but if you go to any of the places where you purchase your book, you type in The Richest Man in Babylon, it'll pop back up. And the main thing that I got out of there is, besides, the main issue is pay yourself first, and then also talk about investing, because you got to start early and be consistent. Early and often is pretty much what I got out of that one. There's a book called Your Money or Your Life, and I can't think of the author name right now. And basically, it was saying that basically you shouldn't be working for your time and money at the same time. What you should do is put yourself in a position where your money will give you the time that you actually can live. Because basically, what you're going to find out if you work your 20, your 30, or 40 years of your life, you want to be able to look back at some point and enjoy the fruits of your labor. And basically, you don't want to get in the rut and have, be bitter about your work life and your life because you didn't properly have a plan for that. And the last 2 is basically podcasts. There's a lot of great podcasters out there, and basically a lot of things on YouTube. But here's the main thing in the last few minutes I want to share with you. The first thing, you got to have discipline. Besides having a vision of where you want to go, you got to have some discipline, which means that basically, I call it, most people call it a budget. I call it a spending plan. You have to take control, basically, of your cash flow. Flow in, the cash flow, and flow out. You got to get control of that. And the only way that you really take control of that is understanding, okay, this is my income, period. Now we need to go into how we going to deal with our expenses. And of course, on the other side is that the assets and liabilities. And I'll probably go into that maybe on a future podcast. But let's talk about your spending plan. Now, I like to use, there are many plans, but how you need to segment it is that I think the best way that I've come across it is a 40, 30, 20, 10, which is 40% is your needs, 30% of your wants, 20% is your savings and reducing your debt and investments, and 10% what I tithe, but other people might just do donations, and other people have charities. Okay, your needs, your housing, transportation, and groceries. Those things that basically you need to have those things. You need to have, those are vital to life. Your wants are kind of flexible, which means that basically you don't need another suit if you have 3 or 4. You don't need another dress if you got 10. You don't need another pair of shoes if you got 20. You don't need, you just want to have. So those are the things that kind of are like flexible. Matter of fact, I have seen people do a 50, 30, 20, 10, which means that basically they because of where they live, they have to pay more. So more of their income goes towards, if you're in one of the major cities, more of your income would probably go into your living expense, and groceries, transportation, all those things are maybe a little higher. But that want is the most flexible thing that you can have within your budget. Okay, I recommend minimum 10% of your savings. Okay, and then out of that what is that, 40, 30, 20, and then we're talking about reducing your debt and investing. Those are the things that if your company is offering you max your 4%, 5%, your max out of your 401k, I would say take it. But there's some other things that I think you should make sure you do, which means basically I suggest that you might look at some whole life insurance, which means they're basically getting you $1 million, $2 million, $5 million policy, because by the time you finish your work life, which in 20 to 30 or 40 years, you still have that $2 million, and the $2 million not going anywhere. Your $1 million portfolio with your 401k is going to ride, and your fall is going to ride, is going to fall with the stock market. And you got to make sure you understand the administrative fees that comes along with those things. We maybe get into that 401k thing again this season, but those are things that I would suggest. And also make sure you got to be saving some money, and you got to be consistent. And my suggestion is that money should be going into a high yield savings account. Right now, there's some banks that give you 4.9 or 3.8% in the high yield savings account. You think about it. If you had $100,000 in a high yield savings account, and they offer you 4%, that's $4,000, and you're not have to do anything with the principal. That's one of the things that if you ever get a lump sum of money, make sure you think about that. And donate. You have to be generous. One of the things that I find a blessing for me is when I tithe or when I do my charity donation, I feel good about what I'm doing because I'm helping mankind. Remember that you pay yourself first, live below your means, invest in your education, and start early and often and consistently. Those are things that will create a very positive mindset, and you will actually achieve your goal. I thank you for your time. My time is up, and I thank you for yours. Until next time, peace. Let's get lit.